We're seeing a lot of people really wanting to buy a home right now, but mortgage rates, despite talks of a potential rate cut next year, are still pretty high. And a lot of people, they're just not liking the real estate market. They feel like homes are super expensive, which I fully agree. And also the people who own homes, they're starting to feel like they might have to sell for a cheaper price tag, which is something that landlords just do not want to hear. But there's several factors that's influencing that. And yes, there's news articles about how real estate prices are already going up because of a potential interest rate cut. But overall, the majority of cities in the US, especially the super big ones, many homeowners, renters are all offering some pretty juicy rent concessions and also price reductions. Check out this article here. Mortgage costs are so expensive, some homeowners have no choice but to do price cuts. And Zillow is saying that 22% of all homeowners are doing some sort of a price cut, which is something that we never heard before because during the peak of the real estate bubble, we're seeing a lot of people refusing to cut the prices. In fact, they'll much rather do an auction and get the price as high as possible, which a lot of people who bought at the top are now truly regretting. And 22% may not seem like a high number to some of you, but it's actually a pretty high amount considering that it used to be like 0% of people were willing to cut prices. But now a lot of people are cutting prices. We're seeing prices cut left and right, especially in some of the biggest cities in the US, like New York City, we're seeing Chicago, and even very popular places in Florida, like Tampa and Miami, are also cutting prices, with rents dropping in several of the biggest cities, which people saw as a foolproof investment. Like prices will never go down, but surprise, prices actually went down. Not to mention some of like the super high-end luxury developments like these are already experiencing a massive decline in price. I mean, not everyone has the money to blow $17 to $18 million on a penthouse in Manhattan, and many of these units are sitting empty. We're seeing too many of these luxury units on the market and not enough rich people. In fact, a lot of rich people right now are refusing to buy real estate, and a lot of the sellers who are willing to cut prices are selling the luxury units like over $5 million. And a lot of the rich guys are not buying real estate right now, especially very expensive real estate like this. Would you rather spend $17 million on this and a potential, harm to your money? Or you could put $17 million in treasuries and bonds and CDs and make a easy and stable and safe 5% per year. I think most people go with the latter. Nobody will really to buy this expensive real estate. In fact, these real estate pieces and luxury ones have little to no buyers. And if you look at even super hot real estate places like Miami, for example, we are seeing luxury properties drop to the ground. Now, we're seeing finally in places like San Francisco a cooling of the market. Real estate prices have finally went down to planet Earth. If you check this out, somebody actually bought this unit at one of the highest real estate price areas, which was back in 2015. Bought the San Francisco condo, or more like a studio cage than anything else, for $415,000. And look at this unit. Like, it's 300 square feet. It's a literal studio. All it could fit is like a table and a bed. And somebody bought this for almost $500,000 back in 2015. And by the way, like $500,000 back in 2015 is worth so much more now than ever. Now with all the money printing, you can't even get a dollar menu at McDonald's anymore. And like, they sold it for $250,000. And like I said, I'm sure they want to sell this unit for $550,000 or $600,000. But let's be real. Would anyone spend more than $500,000 for this unit? I don't think so. Especially with many American cities already deteriorating. A lot of these prices have finally went down. And I guess this is somewhat affordable. If you really don't want to pay rent, this is pretty nice. $250,000 for a 300 square feet studio, I guess that's okay for a city as big as San Francisco. And by the way, it is not a BMR unit, so it's not subsidized by the government. This is a legit private condo sale, and prices have fallen this much. And can you imagine the other condos around the vicinity? It's pretty painful to see that. Manhattan median rents falls for the first time in over 2 years. Okay, the median rent in Manhattan fell 2% in November. Like, you got people literally paying like $3,000 to $4,000 for a studio apartment in Manhattan. Not even like the super good districts, like just the okay districts as well. So Manhattan rents are going down, and one of the reasons why is over construction, right? We're seeing a lot of construction in several American cities. It's going bonkers. The amount of houses being built is at an all-time high. Even office construction is at an all-time high, which is something that I don't get my head around because office vacancies are still rising, but everyone is making a massive bet that offices will come back one day and everyone make money. But surprise, hybrid work is here to stay, and gig work is also here to stay, and many people want to work online. So we're seeing less office space, but they're also building more office space. I could make a whole video about that, talk about this massive office bubble that's super dangerous. And even the FDIC is warning about that. Check this out. Rent prices are on the verge of declining due to massive supply. What did I say in the beginning of the video, in the middle of the video? Well, there's so much construction. You don't know how much construction there is. Initially, new construction projects only make up about 8 to 10% of the whole entire housing unit for sale. Now, if you look at homes for sale, it's like almost 50% in some cities. Like Austin, if you go on Zillow, 50% of all the homes are like new construction. It's crazy. And the amount of home construction that's happening in your city, my city, is at like a multi-decade high. And I don't really understand why, but you also got to keep in mind that the amount of homes being sold, a third is new construction, hitting almost 40% right now. And that's not normal considering that originally less than 10% of all the homes being sold are new construction. So we're going way above the limit. And look at this, record-breaking third of homes for sale are new construction by Investopedia. And that's a pretty big deal. We're seeing so much new construction that's actually dragging the price down for several neighborhoods in the United States. And this is not great at all, right? The permits are still on the rise. There is no stopping to this madness. They're still building record amounts of apartments, record amounts of suburban homes, record amounts of condos. And I guess that's pretty good if you're a renter because we're already seeing cities like Austin, even Vegas, Nevada, and even Oakland having insanely fantastic concessions for renters. They'll actually make the deal very sweet, like 1 or 2 months, even 3 months, I've seen that, of free rent per year, which is insane. And also, home developers are also offering the homes for a very cheap and low price, which overall is a pretty great deal for buyers. So what do you guys think about it so far? Okay, I think the prices are really dropping. Most of the people who are not willing to lower prices are now willing to lower prices as much as possible. And many landlords just can't survive anymore, right? You got too much high rates, everything's getting more expensive. Home insurance is off the charts, HOA fees, property taxes. It's no longer like super profitable to be a landlord anymore. But who knows? Let's see what happens in the next few years. Now, landlords right now are already selling many of their units for very cheap prices, as you can see, and it's going to be a pretty hectic real estate market. Now, before I just leave, definitely check out the private Discord server, guys. It's a Patreon link below, 7-day free trial, and our server is making a bunch of money. Just last week, one of our traders made almost 90% win rates. The only losing trade was Microsoft, but everything else was legit. And we're trading even as I'm speaking. We're just buying calls, selling calls, buying puts on different companies. And even I use a server to make some good cash. See you guys later.